Bobby, when you think of September 11th, 2021, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Hall of Fame induction, spending quality time with family and friends who traveled to Springfield, getting an opportunity to really feel the respect of being a Hall of Famer and being welcomed into a club where there are probably a max of 250 players. And it takes a while for it to sink in, but then after your speech and you come off the stage and you get your congratulations and hugs from people that have been inducted before you, you begin to really feel the significance of being a Hall of Famer. And it's still sinking in on a regular basis, but surely it's an accomplishment that I never really thought of initially playing basketball. I just wanted to be a good basketball player, and even upon leaving the NBA, I really didn't think that much of being a Hall of Famer. It wasn't that I didn't think if there was such a club that I shouldn't be
Right.
a member of, but it was just a great day for my family and I, for both of my parents who are no longer here, but it was just a great day.
There were two things that stood out to me in your speech, and I kind of want you to kind of follow up on it. The one thing that you said is things happen on God's time.
Oh, yeah.
Was your patience ever tested?
I think it would be tested from time to time when guys that I thought that I had a better career than, when they were going in, and especially guys that played the small forward spot. But I had a lot of other things to do over the last 30-something years, and one of the things was to sort of mend some fences in the NBA. And mending those fences was actually fun because I had the opportunity to let the powers that be see who Bob Dandridge really is. And after a couple of years, they began to realize, hey, this is a quality guy. This is a fun-loving guy. He's a pretty smart guy. And he's just a quality human being. So during that time, I got a chance to get a better connection with a higher power, who I choose to call God. And that was also fun because it gave me an opportunity to reflect back on the many blessings that have come in my life and to be appreciative of some of the challenges that came along in my life. Gave me an opportunity to be the type of parent that I wanted to be, and my wife had a lot of help with that. That too, becoming a better parent, a better husband, a better man. So the wait was, it got to be fun, and eventually I just settled on down, and for about the last 10 or 12 years, I've carried myself as a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't let anybody treat me other than as being a Hall of Famer, and I've been in company with when I was the only unrecognized Hall of Famer, but they treated me as if, hey, you still one of us. So at no time did, and the story that I tell is that the coach from Villanova and also Roy Williams, when I saw them at the Hall of Fame, they said, well, aren't you already in the Hall of Fame? And that confirmed the wait. It confirmed that. And I was tested too because I would see guys, important people with the Hall of Fame that I figured had something to do with the vote. And the maturity on my part was not showing any anger, not saying anything negative about anybody, but letting the process work for itself. And in God's time, the process worked its way through, and it's just been fun because it teaches you how to play the game of life. You got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to hold them. So it was a learning.
Know when to walk away and know when to run.
Know when to walk away, know when to run. But and I've met and made a lot of good friends along the way, and I was able to stay true to my beliefs. I was able to still be able to speak on some issues that I wanted to speak on, and I gained a lot of respect, I think, during that period. And then you said, I didn't know I had prepared this speech because that's a requirement of the Hall of Fame, because they don't want you to stay up there too long. But it's
when that red light stops flashing, that means get off the stage.
Yeah, but I didn't see the red light. I sort of went on how we used to when we was young, go through the red light.
Right.
But it's been a blast.
Yeah.
And the wait has not, it's been development for me as a human being. So and for my family, and the thing it is that when we're young, we don't appreciate some things. And I think I got a 5 and a 7-year-old grandson that they had an absolute fabulous time. And they understood everything that was going on. And I think my kids, my wife, my relatives, all the Dandridges up and down the East Coast, my family, really appreciate what has been happening to me over the last year. And I'm forever thankful and grateful, for the experiences that I've had.
Before you took your rightful place in Springfield, you and I talked, and I remember I asked you, who called you? Who told you? And I was shocked when you said the Big O called you and said you're going into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. This is someone that you have really spoke highly of over your time. But to get that call from the Big O, share with folks, first of all, what did he say? And then how did that conversation kind of go?
Well, he knew, but the actual call came from John DeLeva, Jerry Colangelo, and Wayne Embry. They were on a 3-way call. And I can honestly say that Wayne Embry has been my biggest advocate over the last 9 or 10 years. And once they told me, then that gave Oscar the freedom, because it's a secretive thing. And even when I found out, I was sworn to secrecy from the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't tell anybody before we release this to the media. And the funny thing is that, my wife could be watching an NBA game and somebody may get announced as a Hall of Famer, and she said, you should be in there.
Uh-oh.
And so when that happens, I have to sort of get up out the room because she's my biggest fan and my biggest supporter. And maybe about 4 days before it was released to the public, I just had to go ahead and tell her, look, calm down, I'm in the hall.
We got a trip in September coming. It might not be to a city where you think we're going.
that call, it left me speechless. And then after that, some of the committee members called to confirm it, because you say, is this some? No, I knew wasn't nobody playing a trick on me, because it came
Wayne
from,
Embry don't play games.
No,
so.
Wayne and Jerry Colangelo either.
Yeah.
They don't play games. But when Oscar, I really, and it's not corny, Oscar and I have developed a brother-brother relationship. And I feel real special to have him call me his friend. You talking about the Big O. And there's only been 2 players, I think, in the history of this league that they've called big anything. That's Big O and the Big E. And I've been forever grateful and blessed to have played with both of them. And if we went by basketball accomplishments, I don't think we'll ever have 2 players that would want to take on those first initials. So, but Oscar's call was probably the most satisfying of them all.
How'd you get the nickname Greyhound?
Greyhound, because when I went to Milwaukee, I was probably about 6'6", about 180 pounds max, but I could get out on the fast break. I used my speed to play the game. And there was a broadcaster, Eddie Doucette, gave everybody the nickname. He gave Kareem the Sky Hook, and McLaughlin, Johnny Mack. And he was full of nicknames, not in a derogatory way, but just a way to add excitement to his broadcast. And that's how I got the name, because of my speed and quickness my first couple of years in Milwaukee, and that's where the Greyhound came from.
You talked about your wife, Deborah, who, did you get in trouble after your Hall of Fame speech? Because you did kind of put her out there about how hard it was to get her to notice you.
No,
in the beginning.
Yeah, but for most of us ball players, our wives have put us through that.
That's right.
Back in the day, it wasn't easy to.
You had to earn your stripes.
Oh, you had to earn your stripes, and then if she had a mother or brothers, you had to pass the test. It wasn't just hooking up with somebody or marrying somebody without the family's approval.
Right.
And so that's the way it was. You had to work back in the day.
You call it court.
Yeah, you had to court them.
The other thing that you said in the Hall of Fame speech that kind of touched me is you're bringing a village to the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Talk to me about your village.
The village were people that I grew up with in Richmond, Virginia, in the West End section of Richmond. Classmates from Maggie Walker High School, classmates, students, and anybody that went to Norfolk State. My coaches who had a hand on me, my teachers, guys that I learned this sport from on the playgrounds of Richmond, and newly acquired friends over the last 20 or 25 years. I had about 25 people that traveled to the Hall of Fame to be with me during that time, and that was my village. And as I also mentioned, I'd never had a white coach until I went to the NBA. So all these people that were a part of my village were blacks, African Americans, that guided me, directed me, corrected me, and paved the way for me to be who I am today. And when I look back at my coaches, it was a guy named Russell Williams, and he went to North Carolina Central, but he was coached by Johnny McClendon, who learned the sport from James A. Naismith. And so I just had people, I had an English teacher that told me I would never play in the NBA if I never learned that English. And I'm still trying to connect the two, English and the NBA. But she introduced me to my first pro basketball player, a guy named Hal Greer. And as a senior in high school, I had an opportunity to work out with Hal Greer at my high school, and it was just unbelievable. You know, 3 straight days, out of 100 shots, he never missed more than 3. And that sort of set the tone he was a part of my village. Because I just learned a lot, and everything wasn't about basketball. A lot of it was integrity and honesty and how to be a part of a team, but yet to be able to separate myself from the crowd of individuals that might not have the same goals and directions that I have. And family, tonight at this celebration, I got about 25 or 30 Dandridges coming from Richmond, Virginia, who have never participated in anything honoring me. And we all are connected we are the brothers and sisters of a family of Dandridges, Patsy and Matthew Dandridge. And, you know, this is a special night for me, surely, to be honored here by the Wizards. And I'm forever grateful that I'm being honored by myself. And it may sound selfish, but I'm used to being honored with 4 of the top 50 players that have ever played this game. And so I'm forever grateful to the Wizards for letting me know that I can stand on my own, not only as a basketball player, but a contributor to this Washington franchise. And this is just a real special night for me.
You won a title in '71 in Milwaukee, but the '78 one is one here in this community that everybody remembers, right? You played with, like you said, great players. Give me a compare and contrast of the '71 title to the '78 one.
Young and believing that, what's so special about an NBA title? Everybody, if you play long enough, would win one. But after about 2 more shots at trying to win one, I realized that this thing doesn't come easy. And Washington was just the ultimate for me, because I know, and the Wizards are acknowledging, I was the man. I could do with that team what I wanted to do as far as on the court. And Coach Marta had given me the green light. Look, we gonna go as far as you take us. And although I played with the great Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld, it was I loved playing here in the DMV. As Larry Wright says, I loved playing in the district. It was a special place, especially for African Americans. It was the prime of Chocolate City, and the city just embraced the Bullets during that time. And it was a place that I wanted to play. And every player in this league wants to feel at some point you got your team. And this was my team. And Wes and Elvin showed me the ultimate respect, and probably built up my confidence in terms of letting me lead them, not so much as a vocal guy, because Wes had that covered. But for me to come, but now I had to prove myself with Wes and Elvin, coming in here. And it just wasn't through statistics. It was a willingness to blend in, to make this team what it was trying to be, and that was a championship team. So Washington was the highlight. It was where I wanted to be. I excelled. My game was on full display. And I know for 2 years, and I would say my last year in Milwaukee and my first 2 years in the league, in Washington, I can say I was the best small forward in the league. And sometimes I have to let Elvin know when he gets stubborn that for 2 years, he and I were the best forward combination in the league. And so the championship in Washington is a very special championship because, hey, I was the man.
There you go. What is it like today to see Wes's son roaming the sidelines, coaching the Washington Wizards?
It's like tearful, it's humbling, it's deserving, because he has always been a quality young man. And he has paid his dues more so than any of the other 4 or 5 guys that got head coaching jobs this past year. He should have been the first guy taken based on his experiences in this league. And I think the leadership at Monumental Sports and the Wizards made a move that they'll never regret. I just, be patient with him, let him run his gamut here, and I'm proud of him, and I can say this because I'm much older. I saw him as a kid, but I've seen him grow into a deserving and quality head coach.
My final question for you, Bobby D, is when these young players in this league ever see you in the streets or see you in the arena, they need to come and pay the proper respect. Because I didn't know this. You're responsible for the top 100 camp.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for kids to showcase their skills before getting to this level.
Yeah.
How did you get that started?
The Players Union and Alex English employed me to be in charge of programs, but I really eased in there because I developed a rookie transition program, and once I was in there working with the rookie transition program, they thought we need to have a camp. And it was up to me. I solicited products from Nike. I negotiated with Princeton University. I talked to coaches across the country. And but that's something that I'm halfway good at in terms of being able to communicate with people. And this was a part of the rewards of that, waiting to get into the Hall of Fame, that God had a whole lot of work for me to do that had nothing to do with my personal accolades, but gave me an opportunity to give to a population that needed that type of exposure. And even at the Hall of Fame, guys were shocked, like they never even thought about. And everybody probably in the last 30 years who's in that Hall of Fame have come through that what was then the Nike, but now the top 100 camp. And sometimes I look back at some of the pictures, you know, when you see Kobe and Jermaine O'Neal. I can remember going to talk to Lamar Odom, and it was almost like a recruiting process because we had to compete against the Adidas and Nike camps, and it was my personality that I had the ability to talk to coaches to convince them, look, this is going to be the next top camp. Y'all need to let him come. And a part of that, too, came from my recruiting because I was an assistant basketball coach at Hampton University, and I can remember my high school coach, a guy named Ernie Fears, who was a brilliant man, told me, say, in your recruiting efforts and talking to coaches, he said, they don't see the Players Association or they don't see Hampton University. What they see is Bob Dandridge, and you have to show up as Bob Dandridge, and coaches and parents saw enough in me that they believed that I was going to take care of their kid.
Always honored and privileged to sit here and chop it off.
My pleasure.
And now I can
Go
say,
ahead and say it.
with a Hall of Famer. Much respect, brother. Thank you, Bobby D.
Thank you for having me, and the best to the Wizards this year.
Thank you.
Okay.